Take two. So today what we're going to talk about is my planning process for setting goals and accomplishing them in 2022. So just to give credit where I can, because I may not do it throughout the video here, I learned this kind of watching and re-listening to about three or four different podcasts, and they come from Russell Brunson, my old coach Nee Sobo, Dan Kennedy, and then having conversations with my partners Andy, Chris, and Mark in terms of setting some of my big goals for, like I said, 2022. So hopefully you'll be able to take this and put it into your own business, if you will. Okay. Now I'm going to be kind of looking a little bit off screen every once in a while just to kind of look at my notes. And the agenda is this. Number one, we're going to talk about the key concepts, like what is your main priority. We're going to talk about the objectives. We're going to talk about, it's hard to say this word, I don't know why, definiteness of purpose. This is a Napoleon Hill concept. We're going to talk about identity, and we're going to talk about the BVRR, and you'll see what that is here in a second. Okay. Now, I think it's important to start with the metaphor. And like I said, I didn't come up with this concept or this metaphor. This is something I heard Russell talk about, but I really liked it. And the metaphor for goal setting, if you will, is if you think about an NFL player, their primary objective in most cases is to make it to the Hall of Fame, right? So everything that they do on a daily basis, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly, it all is there to support them getting into the Hall of Fame, right? Now, the 12-month goal might be to win the Super Bowl. And the 90-day goal objective might be to have a winning record for their division. On game day, it's to obviously win the game. Maybe for the quarter, they want to win the quarter. They want to win the play. They want to, get the first down, whatever it happens to be. And so really, I'm probably not doing it justice because even though I watch a lot of football, I didn't play it at a high level. So I guess the analogy is that when you start looking at the primary objective of, let's say, getting into the Hall of Fame, when you start to reverse engineer that goal, everything there is to support it. And Tom Brady, in my opinion, is probably one of the best examples of that because he lives on a daily basis. I've read some of his books, and I'm a big Brady fan. Everything he does supports that objective of getting into the Hall of Fame. I don't think there's any question that he will be, given his unbelievable record. But if we take that and we apply it to commercial real estate, let's see how. I'm not going to give you my specific objectives because I don't think it really matters. And frankly, my goals are not going to be the same as yours. But what I will give you is kind of an overarching theme. And it took me a little while to think about this because, frankly, I'm learning this. And as I learn things, I want to share with you. So in this situation, I used to focus, like I used to be kind of in the trees, in the forest, and just, working away, doing deals without really thinking about the big picture. And this really started to kind of come to light in some of my conversations recently with some of my business partners in terms of like, what is it that we're really trying to create here? Yeah, we can do this deal, we can do that deal, we can make money, but what is it that we're trying to accomplish? What are we trying to achieve? And when I went away, and the nice thing is when you, I think around Christmas time, it's even easier to start thinking about that because you're with family, you're out of the day-to-day grind, and you can kind of zoom out a little bit, right? So you're no longer in the trees. You're able to kind of see the forest for the trees, I think is the analogy. And for me, I was able to kind of step back and say, okay, what is it that I really want to do? And so one of my main objective is to be able to pass on a company, a real estate company, to my children, right? Whether they want to manage it and keep it will be up to them, but it's an asset that will continue. And so that now shifts a lot of the type of deals that I'm looking at how I'm viewing deals, the type of partners that come into those deals, the everything. And so what's really interesting, and I hope this, you know, it's been very impactful for me. I don't know if just listening to this, it's going to have the same impact for you. However, it's possible even if just one person listens to this and says, you know what, I haven't actually taken the time to really think like, why am I investing in commercial real estate, right? I'm assuming you are interested in that, or you wouldn't be listening to my podcast or this Facebook Live. Okay. Now, if that is the main objective, what are my 12-month goals? Okay. So I'm not going to share that with you, but as an example, it could be to complete 2 new syndications that will support that ultimate objective of a certain, like I have like numbers to be able to know kind of whether I'm on track or not at every stage. So just know that you can really refine that. So it could be, for example, I want to get my first $10 million commercial property this year, which means I need to raise $3 million, which means I need to go out and see X number of deals, which means I need to raise this much money. And so you can break down your annual goal into a 90-day, a month, a week, and then what are the daily actions that you're going to take to move forward to that primary objective. And I heard this, Josh 40 is his name, I think. And he talked about one of his coaches saying that when he was getting business coaching and the presenter would say, what is your objective? What is your priority this year? And business owners would talk about 5 to 10 different priorities. And the mentor would say, you know what, you can't have 10 priorities. You have one priority. And I thought that was quite interesting. And so I've essentially got a primary objective on the business front, and I have a primary objective on my fitness and family, if you will. Okay, so those are the ultimate objectives, and then everything else needs to support that, which is very different than the way I've set goals in the past, because I would have probably anywhere from 5 to 8 goals, and oftentimes what would happen is some of those goals would be in conflict with one another. And so this year we're going to wait and see in terms of if this simplifying into having kind of two primary objectives, both on the business and the family front, make a difference. Okay, now, so I've started. I don't know whether you want to say on the top and then going down, or we're talking about the foundation and we'll build up. Maybe we'll use that analogy in terms of like, so the foundation is the objective. Now, what Napoleon Hill calls definite of purpose is it kind of breaks into 2 concepts or ideas. And this is, number 1, your definite of purpose is kind of where are you putting your energy? And so, for example, one of the challenges when you have 5 different goals, at least what I've found, is that you're now taking your energy and you're splitting it. Let's say you have 100% energy and you put 20% here, 20% there, 20% here. And pretty soon your energy is diluted across 5 different goals. And it's no wonder that it's hard to accomplish this challenging, difficult goal, because we're only putting 20% effort and energy in. And that's only if you have 5 goals, right? If you have like 8 or 10, now you're diluting it even further. And so that is one aspect. And I can tell you, having been around some very successful people, when they set their mind to something and they have that definite of purpose or really focus and clarity on like one thing, it's incredible what they're able to accomplish, because they put everything behind that and they make it happen because they're putting 100% energy and effort, not 20%, not 10%. They're not fragmenting it one day here, one day there. And in transparency, I'm sharing this with you, but it's really a reminder for myself too. Okay, so I just want to be kind of open about that. So that is the focus and clarity, the purpose. And then the second is the desire. And this is the way I've heard it, is that you can't stop thinking about it, right? I think that there's the story of the student and mentor, and I can't remember the gentleman's name that talks about this story. He has like a YouTube channel that's been, I think this particular one's been seen like a couple million times, but he talks about, you know, the the student goes to the mentor saying, I want to do what it is that you do. He's like, fine, let's meet tomorrow at the beach, 7 a.m. So they meet at the beach, 7 a.m. in the morning. They say, he's like, follow me out into the water. So they not really sure what's going on. The student follows the coach or the mentor out into the water. They get up to about their neck, and then the mentor, dunks the kid or the student's head underwater till he's like almost passed out and he's fighting and he can't breathe. And then he comes back up, and the mentor essentially says, when you want this goal so bad as breathing, then you're going to make the sacrifices. You're not going to make the excuses. You're going to actually do what it takes to make it happen. And I don't know if I've, I've been in situations where you can't breathe, and that's obviously a pretty scary situation. But I think what it does is it highlights, like, how bad do you actually want something, right? Frequently people come to me and say, yeah, I want to get into commercial real estate, but then they won't even make like simple steps in terms of doing a little bit of research, making phone calls, touring properties, learning how to do basic underwriting. And so it's like, well, if you don't really want to do it, that's fine, but don't pretend that you want to do it. Just like for me, in terms of fitness, I said I wanted to run a marathon. Well, I said I wanted to do it, and I did the running part, but then, the other 95% of my day was not conducive to running a marathon, i.e. tracking what I ate and making sure that if I was going to do a 10-mile run, that I did a 10-mile run, not an 8-mile run, not a 7-mile run, not 2 runs that were 30 minutes each and I got sore and I stopped, right? I mean, if you really want something, then you do it. And I think that's, like I said, another good reminder for me. The next one is identity. And this is something from Tom Bilyeu, and he talks about the fact that if when we set goals, generally speaking, in order to achieve them, we need to evolve as as an individual, as a human, in order to get to that next level, right? Because whoever described this, and maybe it was Tom, they said they did it in a much more eloquent way. And so I'm not going to be able to say it quite as well as Tom did. But the way I understood it is, if I was the person, and if I had I would already have the goal if I was the person that I needed to be. And because I don't have the goal means I need to change as a person. It means I need to evolve. And it means I need to bring something new into me. And that is not easy to hear. And frankly, I think it starts with an identity shift. And so right now, I will make this statement. I am not a marathon runner, right? I wasn't. This year, I plan to change that, okay? And so that's easy to say. It's completely another thing to do it. And I don't mean like walk a marathon. I mean like I want to run it and complete it in a specific time, okay? So one day maybe I'll share that time. Right now, I don't feel it's necessary. So that's number one. Number two would be, on the business front, it's like once I started saying I'm a real estate developer, it very much changed the way I thought about myself. Okay. And so for you, if you are going to be a commercial real estate investor, that is very different than a residential real estate investor. Okay. And it might seem nuanced, but I can tell you that when you take on that identity, it does change things. So that is one more aspect. Next are beliefs. And the way I think about beliefs is that we typically have a set of beliefs that keeps us safe, and we do things that are comfortable. But I would challenge you because I think one of the hardest things to do is to change someone's beliefs. And I will tell you, as a coach, I have probably not done a very good job of doing this with my clients, but I'm going to challenge myself to do that, right? And what I mean by this is, I'll give you a limiting belief that I hear often, and that is, there's no good deals in my city. It's too late. I don't have enough money. I don't have experience. It's like all these limiting beliefs. Similarly, if I said, well, I can't run a marathon, I'm 230 5 pounds, whatever the excuse is, versus I'm going to find a deal in the next 90 days. I'm going to take 100% responsibility for this deal. I'm going to, I'm someone that tracks this. You can see how beliefs and identity are similar. I'm someone who tracks my food, or I'm someone who works out 7 days a week, or I'm someone who wakes up at 5 a.m., right? These are beliefs that you have about yourself, your identity. And I think that they can be either empowering or disempowering. And so something to think about, and as an exercise, would be to, like, what are the beliefs that you need to be a successful commercial real estate investor? One good one is, I'm a problem solver, right? That is something that I learned from my mentor and I've really embraced and taken on. And I guess I'll go a little bit deeper on that for a second. When you take on that belief, I'm a problem solver, it presupposes that there's going to be problems. And so if you know that and you appreciate it and accept it, then I think what happens is no longer do you get surprised when things come up, right? It's like, yeah, that's the business that I'm in, especially as a developer. Okay, the next is values. And values and beliefs are different, and I used to confuse them, and I'm probably not going to do a very good job of kind of telling you the difference. But beliefs are something that I think that you can change. They are difficult to change. However, values are probably a little more ingrained, and often they take more time to articulate, right? So I'll give you a couple of examples of values, and they may be closely related to my own values, but some of them are not. Now, for me, my family is one of my top priorities, if not my top priority. And if that is a value, then my investing decisions now revolve around that. And I'll give you an example. I no longer travel all over Canada and the US to invest because I don't like being away from my family. I know I can make a lot more money doing deals elsewhere, but for me, it's not worth the sacrifice. There's nothing inherently right or wrong about that. It's just what my values are. And so frequently I talk to investors and they say, I want to invest in Calgary, and they live in Toronto, or I want to invest in Houston or Dallas or Phoenix or whatever it happens to be. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, do you know what's involved and required of you to be a successful syndicator going, 6 hours away? Because I do, right? I've been there. And essentially, especially if you're raising other people's money, it means that if things go wrong, that you are going to be on a plane and solving that problem as long as it takes. I guess that presupposes that you have integrity, and that when you're raising money, that you're going to put your client's needs before your own. So that would be another value that I have. Okay. And so these are just some of the things to kind of take into consideration, because your values then are going to drive some of the objectives that you set and how you go about trying to accomplish them. The next is rules. So what are the rules that you have put into place to ensure that you get the results? And this is something, so the rules and the next are two things that I'm keenly aware of and becoming far more regimented about. If you were to see my office, I've actually started to map out rules. And then the next I'll just give it to you, is routines. What are the routines you're going to put into your daily practice, if you will? And over the weekend, we watched, what is it called? I don't have it in front of me. It's basically the story of, it's like a National Geographic's documentary. I think it's called Free Solo or The Climb or something like that. But it's about Alex Honnold. And it talks about this gentleman, if you've ever seen the National Geographics, where the guy is standing on, I think it's El Capitan, and his hands are outstretched. He's got a red kind of blade or like jacket, and he's climbing like free solo, meaning you have nothing. You're just literally climbing up this rock, and it's extremely dangerous. Like I'm not a mountain climber, but just watching this, you have such an appreciation. And what was most interesting, what I took out of this, was how much preparation and the rules that Alex had in terms of him climbing up this mountain. So when you see him, he actually has a book, and he's like, at whatever, like rock face 22 and rock face 13 and like all these different pitches. he has specific rules, and he climbs harnessed in, and he tries all these different strategies and techniques, and he, you know, every route, and like, it is so detail oriented. And I guess when your life depends on it, you are going to take that kind of responsibility, if you will, right? And anyways, I just thought it was fascinating. If you haven't watched it, just Google El Capitan free solo. You'll see the National Geographics. I think Jimmy Chin was the actual photographer and friend of Alex, and it's just phenomenal. Like when you see the definitive purpose, the clarity, the clear objective, like all of these things just coalesce into Alex being able to climb this. You know, at the time, no one had ever done it without assistance from ropes and whatnot. So just something to think about, I guess. And then the last is routine. So what are the routines that are going to support your priorities, right? Your priority, I should say. And frequently, I think people, myself included, we try to implement this huge change, right? I'm going to wake up here, I'm going to eat this, I'm going to drink water, I'm going to, you know, when I did 75 hard, that very much was a lifestyle change. And I was fortunate because I didn't have a job. I don't have to answer to someone, but doing 2 45-minute workouts, one outside, did require, you know, a buy-in from my wife, right? And my kids, because frequently those evening workouts were me going off on my own, and, you know, it was very much a selfish time. Okay. And that's one of the reasons why, for me, I'm not doing 75 hard on an ongoing basis, because A, it wasn't a priority, and B, it was good to kind of put into place certain routines. However, you know, it wasn't something I was prepared to commit to forever, type of thing. But I will say that there are certain things, i.e., you know, it showed me, drinking, for example, how good I felt not doing that for 75 days. And now I go months without having a drink. I might have a glass of wine here and there, but it's very infrequent. And so what are the routines? What time are you going to wake up? How many properties are you going to call on? Health-wise, like, there's routines, both professional and personal, that can support you in both avenues. And so I would just ask, what are the routines that you're going to implement? So just as a recap, and we went maybe a little bit longer. I don't know how long we've been going here. Let me just see. 22 minutes. Yeah, a little bit longer than I expected. What's your main objective? Okay. What is the 1-year goal that you have that is going to support that main objective? What is the identity that you could take on that will help and support you? What are the beliefs in terms that you can either change or help and support? Okay. What are your values? And this is something that, you know, just really, I have found to be honest and not write values that you think sound good, but what is that you actually value? What are the rules? What are your non-negotiables that you're going to hold yourself to? What are the routines that you can take and start to build your daily routine? And just so you know how I'm actually going through this. So one, I prepared for it. 2, I'm actually thinking about this. So usually I'll do a thinking time each morning, and I'll start to map out for 25 to 45 minutes on each one of these, right? So your main objective, your 1-year goal, your beliefs, your values, your rules, and your routines. So that's what I had for today. Hopefully this was helpful. If you appreciated it, you want to see more of these, let me know. You can comment below if you're on Facebook or on YouTube watching this. And that's it. So looking forward to 2022. And often when I put this out there, it actually forces me to live up to what I'm sharing with you. Because if I didn't, then it would be fairly hypocritical. Like, you know, it's pretty easy to listen to a podcast and talk about it and make some notes. It's a very different thing to actually stick to those routines and rules, values, beliefs, and then commit to that ultimate objective. So that's all I've got. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.